Well, it is a pleasure and thank you for joining us on the Coffee Court. This is where we ask the critical questions. My name is Fred Makubia, and this time round, the main discussion rotates around the budget preparation for 2023-2024. Now, just of recent, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development has just released the second quarter. What does this mean? That and more to bring us to speed is Dr. Arthur Bainomgisha. He's in charge of Accord as the Executive Director. Doctor, thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me.
Your assessment for the first 6 months of the financial year 2022-2023.
Oh, it has been a very challenging year, financial year in this country. If you take last year and this year, you had COVID-19, you had Ebola, so you had those emergencies, lockdown of the country by COVID, but also you had now the lockdown of Mubende and Kasanda because of Ebola. You have the war in Ukraine, which is relentless going on, disrupting trade across the world and the global economy. You had the rising prices, fuel prices, food prices in the country. And to be honest, it was a hard year. The economy was hard hit. We had a slowdown on the economic growth. The projected growth couldn't be realized. Little money in people's pockets. So it was a tough year, but I'm glad that we have survived. And the economy is now slowly recovering and rebounding.
So do we expect positive performance come this?
Yes, actually, even according to the report released by the Permanent Secretary, the Minister of Finance, there are good signs. There are signs of economic recovery. There are signs that actually we have actually an import deficit. We are able to import less and export more, or even actually substitute imports. The import substitution strategy is working, which means we are saving on our foreign exchange and investing in the country. So there are indicators that the economy is going to recover and rebound, but also because of the bumper harvest.
Okay.
Because as you can see now, the food prices, which is the main thing, are coming down. But also the oil prices have come down.
Okay.
And so that's a good indicator that the economy would recover. But that will also depend on good monetary policy by the Bank of Uganda, but also macroeconomic stability by the Minister of Finance, especially in curbing inflation. It has been stabilized, but it is still not where we're supposed to be, because we are supposed to be single digit. We are still in this double digit, 10.2%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you believe in the report? What could be the contributing factors for this import substitution strategy working out in the previous year, according to the report that the ministry has just released?
I believe in the report because the Minister of Finance is supposed to tell us the truth. So what the report by the PS is saying in terms of the recovery and the positive trends is true, but that doesn't mean that we are safe. The boat is not yet safe. We are still growing at a very slow pace, because a country like ours is a poor country. When it grows at a rate of less than, actually, it should be growing at a double digit, over 10%. Okay. We are still growing at almost 4.7%. That is not good, but there are positive indicators. If you also compare with other countries in the world, like Ghana, which is failing to pay its debt. Uganda is paying its debt, has not failed, but is also posting positive growth rates.
Some economists reason it that it is very easy for a country to move from one digit and get to 2 digits, but it is not very easy for you to move from the 2 digits, which is 10.2, and come back to the single digit. Is that so?
Inflation?
Yes.
Inflation, I think it is possible, because we have seen actually a positive trend in terms of inflation, control of the inflation. Because I think in October, it was September, October, it was 10.7. Today it's 10.2, which means we see a downward trend coming actually, and the target, of course, is less than 5%. I think we can make it if the economy remains on this trajectory.
In the report that the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development has just released, indicate that we've not done a lot of borrowing. We've actually depended on our very money. Is this the fact, in your opinion, Doctor?
Yes, again, again, yes. Then, if you don't believe with the Minister of Finance, whom do you? But believe, because also the economic outlook by the World Bank, by the IMF, by the World Bank also attests to that. I think it's also one of those positive trends that should be commendable by the team at the Ministry of Finance and the Uganda, at the Bank of Uganda,
Okay.
because in a sense that we that we have been able, because we've borrowed, but that money has not actually even been released. That's the information to us, but has been approved. But in the meantime, the country has actually survived on our own domestic revenue, which for me, and that's the question I put to the permanent secretary, if this country for the last 3-4 months has been able to survive on its own domestic resources, can't we continue to depend on ourselves? Because the culture of borrowing is not a good thing, because Ghana has failed to pay. It's trapped in debt. Why do we continue to trap ourselves in debt if we can actually live within our means? And the answer is that actually, I think government needs to tame the appetite for borrowing. Of course, no country in the world can live without borrowing. You should know that. But if we have to borrow, we have to borrow money that can be invested in productive sectors that create more wealth for a country. For example, investing in its strategic infrastructure projects like roads construction, generation of power to spur industrialization, and of course also to provide enough electricity and therefore save our environment, because Uganda, almost 90% of our energy sources is from firewood, charcoal, and in the process we have destroyed the environment. And yet Uganda is an agriculture-based country. So if you destroy the environment, then you trigger climate change, and then you have prolonged drought, and then you have famine and food insecurity and a crisis. And so the point is, while we need to borrow, but we need to borrow strategically, reduce that appetite for, because actually it's times like this one when lenders dangle money, and if you are not smart, then you go for the money, and then you are captured. You are trapped in debt, and then you become highly indebted. You can't make any growth, and then a crisis. So I think Uganda, the government of Uganda needs to be tough on trying to live within a means, sensitize the population, actually create awareness. Because actually for us at Akodia, we invited an expert to talk to our staff, because we had to take some measures on how we can survive in this environment.
Okay.
Tough measures. And we had an expert taking us through how do you still actually thrive in an economic hardship like this one, still can eat, can be healthy, and live. We need to really to be innovative enough to live within our means during this turbulent time, until when we can recover and build better prosperity.
Doctor, stopping borrowing, isn't it a direct indicator that kindly, please go ahead and overtax the masses? Because borrowing is one of the strategies through which government gets money. So if we stop the borrowing, isn't it an indicator that Ugandans are going to be overtaxed to an extent that many of them will actually run out of business?
You see, the idea that you need to be prudent on borrowing is to avoid the debt burden, the debt trap. The debt trap is never good for any country. But at the same time, overtaxing the population is not a good economic measure. And actually, one of the things the questions we put to actually the report by the by the PSST is that actually they are not going to introduce new taxes, but rather to improve the tax administration regime. so that you can increase the tax base without overtaxing people, manage the taxation system without killing the businesses, be able to close the gaps of tax evasion, but also deal with the issues of the tax holiday, where some companies have been given endless tax holidays when actually they are in a position to pay taxes to the government. The point is, government must also be careful not to overtax the people and kill economic growth and innovation and recovery, because governments around the world would need to create an environment or formulate policies that enable so many businesses, especially small and medium enterprises, to start, because it's them that actually create a lot of jobs. Almost 70% of our jobs in this country and even in the developed world is within the small and medium enterprises. So if you have a bad tax regime, it just kills them, and also you kill yourself in the process.
Doctor, I know you've heard cry from the public, from those in the private sector. And if you've not, maybe let me bring this to your attention. In this financial year, government did not introduce any new taxes, but only the amendments that were made have actually affected them more and more, to an extent that many of them come out and say, government would rather come out and say, we have introduced these taxes, other than telling us there are no new taxes, but just the amendments made are actually more dangerous.
No, you are right. And one of the questions I personally, on behalf of ACCORD, because ACCORD is a member of the Budget Transparency Initiative, together with the CSBAG and ODI. And so the question actually we put to him, which was also a request by partners who know that we have a partnership arrangement, is that government, Minister of Finance, of course, through government through Minister of Finance and URA, they need to review some of the new measures that have actually killed or undermined the small and medium enterprises. Yes, the URA, Uganda Revenue Authority, is reporting progress, good results, posting a lot surpluses in tax collection. But the reforms, some of the reforms have left some of these small and medium enterprises sick or dead or on oxygen. And so, so it is important that actually government becomes very sensitive in creating an enabling environment where these small and medium enterprises grow. Then you can tax them, but still tax them in a manner that they still post growth and actually taxable income. But where you're vigilant and you go and get off and actually cream off their working capital, when you go back, you have no one to tax, they have disappeared, they have been erased on the face of the earth. So you are right that some of the measures that they have introduced, they are not very difficult, especially for small and medium enterprises. For example, most of these small and medium enterprises cannot undertake an audit. They can't do an audit. But also they need to keep books of accounts. Some of them don't know, but they need to. And therefore, government needs to help them, either through URA, to help some of these businesses grow and begin to adapt to new to new standards that are important. Like certainly you must keep books of accounts. You must do an audit. How do you borrow without that? But some of them are just starting that if you impose on them an audit and all this means employing accountants, employing auditors, and they cannot afford, you will just actually be killing them or preventing people from establishing businesses, and you are not then you are doing a disservice to your economy. Good enough, Uganda has a highly entrepreneurial population citizenry.
Okay.
That needs to be tapped into so that people create enterprises create jobs, and then you can tax those. You can tax people who are employed. You can tax these enterprises when they make money. But you must invest. Government also needs to invest, but also create that enabling environment for them to grow. Then you can start investing. If they are doing that to the foreign investors who come, okay, by giving them a tax holiday, for 15 years, 10 years. Why don't you do it for these small and medium enterprises?
Doctor, the same report indicates that almost 41.61 is facilitating wage, and just a handful of it is actually for development. Isn't this a disadvantage to nation building?
I think in the short run now, yes, a very small percentage, and actually it's here in the paper, is going to development. Most of it is going to wage, non-wage, and very little to development. But I think also we must discern the moment. The moment now is actually like survival mode. It's a survival mode.
We must apply survival tactics.
Yeah, must apply some survival tactics because there is no money. There isn't a lot of money, but still you must invest in development. But I think government can also be innovative. For example, we have government has been implementing the restructuring of the agencies, merge some of them, MDAs, ministries, departments, agencies that are duplicating the services. If the process has dragged on endlessly, so government will be able to save over 800 billion.
But is that the best strategy?
No, yeah, because you see, if you have people doing the same thing, just removing a cup of tea, putting here and another one putting it, doesn't make sense duplicating the same work. Because I think the best way you can use the money is to get a few people, empower them, equip them to do the job that can be done by several people. And then deploy those people, retrain, reskill, and I'm happy about I think the government strategy on reskilling, especially the youth. Give them employable skills so that they can start, they can actually be in the production rather than looking for jobs which everybody can do, and you have this high rate of unemployment. So skilling the youth is one of those interventions. Restructuring is one of those interventions. But also when you restructure and people lose jobs, give them a package so that they join the private sector. Yes, because you see, and again, if you are able to restructure people when they are still young, at 50, in the 40s, and they join the private sector with those fresh ideas, and actually also prepare them, restructure, give them money, train them, equip them, create the enabling environment, they start businesses. And these are very educated people.
Okay.
Because what we need to do, because Uganda is a private sector-led economy, but the private sector is very small. It is very small because government is a main employer. If people want money, they go to government. But government cannot pay enough money that actually one can make if she is in the private sector. Because in the private sector, what guides us is our selfishness. We can't cheat ourselves on time, when corruption is reduced, and we don't sleep. You will work hard to excel. So government must be in the, so I know that government is also careful about laying off people. It's also a political thing. It's a political hot potato. But if they do it very well, it has to be surgical. It has to be methodical. That the people who are going to lose jobs, they don't just go and die. You don't just dump them. Prepare them, package for them, train them, create the environment, let them join the private sector and start jobs. Let them enter into manufacturing. Let them, yeah, because that's a sector that is very virgin. Let them go into the service sector, and then you'll see a burgeoning private sector, and then we can claim that we have a private sector-led economy. But as it is now, it's a government-led economy.
It's of a disadvantage. The next financial year, it seems the total financial budget allocation may arise or has already risen from 48 to about 49 point something. What does this increase mean? The increase in the final budgetary allocation for the next financial year. What does this increase mean?
The budget is 55 trillion?
Yes.
Yes, it means that the economy is growing.
Sure, that's the increase necessarily mean.
I think that, yeah, that's what it means, that you are going to have a bigger budget than what you had. Because what is the size of the Kenyan budget? It is in the region. It is big. Of course, they have about 55 million. We have 45, but it's bigger. So you see, the budget must be commensurate with the things that you are going to do. It means that Uganda is projecting to do quite a lot in terms of infrastructure development, in terms of the wage bill, in terms of all that. So it is now, but the issue is we need to be prudent. We need to be prudent on that budget. So one should not be speculative. Okay. It must be realistic budget, and we must be able to fund it. We should make that budget well, knowing that we should be planning every year to reduce foreign to reduce donors' contribution and increase our domestic resource mobilization, so that we win ourselves from the what? From contribution by foreigners. Because you see, Kenya has already achieved that. They pay 100%. So I think Uganda needs also to set a target incremental and say every financial year we are increasing the percentage of financing of our budget. But for us to sit here and then plan for donors to put money, then how independent are we?
So next time when we meet again, we'll be digesting matters of national economy. Doctor, your final parting shot.
The final parting shot, of course, is that the economy has not been doing well, but the salvation for this country will not come from without. The salvation will come from within. We need to be prudent on the little resources that we have, use it prudently. We have to reduce corruption or leakage of the money that we have. We have to work hard. Ugandans need to work hard. It is us to fight ourselves and get out of this pit, and govern our resources very well. Will overcome. And we need actually to work together as Ugandans, because it's like a prisoner's dilemma. Sure. If prisoners cooperate, they can come out of the jail. If they don't cooperate, they remain in the jail and they are prisoners.
Dr. Arthur Mugisha, thank you for speaking to us, especially on matters regarding the economy. This is the Coffee Court, and my name is Fred Makubuya.